further. Presidential historian and political analyst Rich Rubino joins us. Really appreciate you doing so. Just tell us more about these comments he's made with regards to these pardons and these commutations of these sentences.
Yes, well, basically, a lot of these people have become almost a cause célèbre for some on the right wing of the political spectrum in the U.S., and they've been a lot of movement for them to try to get President Trump to, when he comes in, to pardon him. He suggested he might do that when he got elected. I think a lot of people thought that he would perhaps pardon only some of the nonviolent offenders, but he did what was really a blanket pardon, which is constitutionally permissible in the United States. I think that shocked even some people who are really Trump supporters that he was willing to do that. But that's basically his defense, is that most of them were doing it, that he says that they were essentially very patriotic, and that foundationally this is something that will really rev up support within his political base.
It was notable, one person I think named in the press as a kind of MAGA granny had turned down that pardon, hadn't she? She said she didn't want to be part of this, what she kind of saw as reversioning of history.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that it is very interesting. Usually presidents, when they go out, they issue a lot of pardons. You saw this. Bill Clinton, for example, the last day in office, issued 140 pardons. Joe Biden, you saw issuing some pardons, for preemptive pardons for members of his family, for General Milley, for others who had betrayed Donald Trump. At least I think the president would probably say that. But this is very rare that they do that at the beginning of the administration. I think there were a lot of them. There were a lot of the January 6th protesters were waiting for Donald Trump to get back in office, and they stayed loyal to him. And if one thing that Donald Trump really prizes, it is loyalty. You don't have to have been loyal to him your entire life. Some folks like Marco Rubio, the new Secretary of State, his former Secretary of Energy, Rick Perry, even his own Vice President, J.D. Vance, excoriated him. They were extremely critical of him in the past. But if they become loyal to Donald Trump will, generally speaking, will repay that loyalty and will reward it.
You mentioned Marco Rubio. We'll get on to him in a moment. There was also questions with regards to TikTok. Lots of column inches about that at the moment, whether it will be banned in the US. It's had a reprieve under Donald Trump. And he kind of put the point that it's not TikTok that concerns him with regards to Chinese data surveillance, potentially. It's the fact, from his perspective, that China's creating so much tech. That's what he said people should be worried about.
Yes, he made the comment, something to the effect of that TikTok, why would they be spying on young people watching crazy videos? I think that TikTok in many respects helped him. There was actually a video where a very important conservative, Charles Kirk, was talking about how they were endorsing Donald Trump. And at the end of this is a Turning Point USA, which is kind of a conservative mecca in the United States, especially for young people. And at the end, he said, and he will not ban TikTok. And Donald Trump essentially said, yes, that's correct. I will not ban TikTok. I think he believes that TikTok helped him be reelected and helped him make inroads with the youth vote in this previous election.
He referenced the impact that his son Barron had on connecting with that youth vote and utilising platforms like TikTok. Talking about Marco Rubio, the new Secretary of State, the kind of chief diplomat for the US, we know that he's going to head to Panama as his first overseas trip. Panama, Greenland obviously got lots of attention following Trump's comments ahead of the election. What do we take from the fact that not only he's going to Panama, but that Panama has accepted the visit too?
Yeah, I don't think they could really get away with not accepting it. But this is really apropos. Jimmy Carter just had his 100th birthday and then recently passed away. Jimmy Carter, it was his administration that signed the Panama Canal treaties. It had the support of the previous administration, the Ford administration. Donald Trump, throughout the entire campaign, never really mentioned the Panama Canal. It was not a flagship issue. He talked about issues like inflation and the border. But once he got elected, he really made this a front and center issue. He made the Panama Canal an issue, and he made Greenland an issue, and the possibility even of making Canada the 51st state. Perhaps it's some sort of a distraction technique. I don't know, but these were not things that he really brought up in the campaign. But now it's really become the vantage point, if you will, the focal point of his United States foreign policy. And it'd be interesting to see what Marco Rubio does in Panama. And it's something that Marco Rubio, frankly, has never really made an issue in his entire career in the United States Senate either.
This interview was broadcast on Fox News. I was just looking at how other networks were covering it. CNN did some fact-checking from their perspective. They said there was at least 11 falsehoods in that interview. It seems as though that theme of the first presidency will continue into the second.
Yes, absolutely. Donald Trump, it's something, obviously, Fox News is something that is very much in favor of Donald Trump. The American media has become very much bifurcated. You have sources like Fox News, then you have more conservative sources even than that, like One America, like Newsmax, and then on the left you have folks like MSNBC, and then you have even Democracy Now! On the far left, and then you have CNN kind of on the center left. But the center left will always be checking what Fox News, what Donald Trump says on sources like Fox News, and oftentimes there's some sort of oftentimes he says something that has some kernel of truth, some semblance of truth, but he doesn't always put the whole story into account. And I think that there will certainly be fact checkers, and Donald Trump will certainly call on the fact checkers and say that what they're saying is mendacious, what they're saying is false. And that's what we had 4 years ago. And I think we're going to certainly have Back to the Future effect in the next 4 years as well.
I'm sure we will. Rich, really appreciate you joining us. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me on.